Inmates, how is life behind bars? Not these bars, but these bars. The long-awaited video is here. People have been asking me for months, when is the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S teardown coming to our screens? This is it. We're going to start stripping this bike down. Now this is not my bike. This is a customer's bike that he's bought in. The reason it's not my bike's gone. It got picked up last week to make way for a new Triumph 1200 Explorer. By the time you're watching this video, I probably already have it. I'm taking delivery of my new Triumph 1200 Rally Explorer the last Thursday of May. So I've probably already got it by the time you see this video. So this customer has bought his KTM to me to have a load of work done to it. He's actually going to have a twin EasyCan installation. So we've got the two Gobi EasyCans going on this. I will put a link down below to all the stuff that's going on this. This video is not going to be about the installation. This video is just about tearing the bike down so it's in the perfect state for you to lay down the harnesses along the same path that the OEM harnesses are laid on. So you're doing it in the most professional way you can. Now, if you want to, you can wire all your accessories up to your motorbike without tearing it all the way down, just taking a few panels off here and there. But today we're going to take the fuel tank off. Now, if you want to know how you can do it without taking the fuel tank off, like poking wires up here and there and just making do and covering it up with the panels after you're done, well then check out Sam Vincent. I've just made it sound like he's done a terrible job. He hasn't. Sam's done a great job. All he's done is put some S4s on there with the sound bomb. I think he might have put a rear light on there. I can't remember top of my head. But if you're putting a lot of gadgets on there, this guy's having front T3s, rear T3s, front S4s, a sound bomb. He wants me to hardwire in his Garmin Zoomer as well. So we've got quite a few wires going from front to back, back to front. So I think it's quite important that we do take the fuel tank off and we find those channels where the KTM wiring harnesses are, and we're just going to join the harnesses up with those so it looks like it's a complete OEM finish. Without further ado, let's get on it. Let's start taking this bike apart. Now, first things first, I've already kind of prepped this bike before I started this video because he had a big, I think the brand is Shad, a Shad top box on the back of the bike. So I've already removed that so it doesn't throw any confusion to any of you out there who would be looking at the back of the bike. So I've tried to make it look as standard as possible. He's also got the KTM OEM crash bars fitted to the bike. I'm not going to show you how to remove those. It's pretty straightforward and simple. You just undo the bolt at the very front in the middle. You've got the clamp on each side, which has got a bolt, and then you've got a bolt down the bottom. So we're going to take that off just so we can get all the panels off and you can see everything coming off easily. And if by magic the crash bars are off. Now the main screw that you get on the KTM, the predominant screw is a T30. They're all T30, well not all T30s, but predominantly they are T30s. But you'll notice as you're taking them apart, they are different lengths, different size shoulders. So we are going to pay careful attention of what screws come out of where, so we can come back to this video as a reference to find out what screw went actually in that particular hole. I like to start off with the windscreen first. So you've got the 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you've got a sat nav holder on the front here, as you undo this, obviously that can potentially fall off. So make sure you put your hand behind it to secure it so it doesn't fall down. So inside here you've got the 4 rubber grommets. They need to stay inside the screen. The 4 screws I removed from there, they are all identical. And here they are there. That is what they look like. So you've got like a medium-sized shoulder on there, and it's a T30 Torx. Now we're going to remove this panel here. There's no screws holding this in at all, but when this comes off, we just pull it up, and behind this we'll reveal 2 more screws which we need to get access to. One thing to pay attention, this surface is can be very easily scratched. So it might be a good idea to use a cloth when handling any of this surface here. So I'm just going to pull it up, and there it is. So we now have 2 more T30s just down here. So we're going to take those out. Once they're out, we can literally slide this up and lift it out, which you'll see me do in a moment. These 2 screws here, you'll see, are very short-shouldered T30s. If you look there, you've got a prong there and a prong here, and that goes, that little blade there fits in the top, and then the screw hole goes through here. So this customer's got a very heavy tom-tom contraption on his bars, which is making the bars move because the front wheel is jacked up with the skylift. It's obviously free to move. So we're now going to lift this up, and inside here we've got a T30 there and a T30 here. And these are short-shouldered T25s. Right behind the handlebar, it's very dark down here, but there is a T30 there and a T30 just here. So you need to move the bars side to side so you can gain access. It's one. There's two. Now it's important to note that the 4 screws in my hand are both the 2 inside the glove box and the 2 on the outside of the glove box nearer the screen. The thicker ones, both T30s, but the thicker thread, the thicker screw, are the ones that go in the front on the outside nearer the TFT screen, and the smaller ones go inside underneath the actual door, inside there. Okay, so with those, we're just going to put them inside here so we now know they are exclusively for the glove box. So now we're going to take the glove box out, and it comes loose like so. You'll notice there's a load of flex lead that comes out, that's pushed down inside here, and then it exposes a plug just here. We don't remove this, we unplug it from here. To remove the seat, we need to turn the ignition on. Press the button on the side. I'm assuming you already know all about this. Press the button to release the seat. We can now turn the ignition off. And off comes the seat. I've already unplugged the heated cable off this Power Parts Ergo seat. I'm going to undo these 2 T30s here. Medium shoulder, quite a long T30. Now those 2 are off there, it's a simple case of just lifting this up and popping it off. I should have mentioned this customer had a big jivvy tank ring on here, so I've had to take all the screws out of the fuel cap, which means the fuel cap is now loose on top of the fuel tank. If you haven't got a tank ring fitted onto this, and you've got all the original screws keeping the fuel cap down, you don't have to undo the fuel cap. So please note, although the screws have been removed from this, it's me removing the tank ring for the jivvy tank bag. So this fuel cap is now loose, but it's supposed to stay there. So as we lift this up and we pop it up, it literally comes off like this. Okay, the tank ring does not come with it. It's just loose at the moment because we took the screws out before we even started the video. Right, so now we're going to take this panel off here. So 2 T30s. And these are a short-shouldered standard T30. And then all we do, it's got locating points at the top and also one actually in the reservoir on the side. So you pull off there and it sucks off. So it pulls off there and it pulls out of a little rubber grommet on the inside of here. And the same the other side. Identical screws to the other side, but this time it's just one connecting point there which goes in there. Let's now take off this base panel here. Now if you want to get really clever with this, you can actually take all this side panel off and keep that on as well, but let's take it off in bits. So we've got one here, we've got one here, and we've got one just down here. So these are all different, I'm afraid. The one on the back here is a long, thin, medium. They're all T30s, same as the others. We've got a medium-sized shoulder on there. It's quite long and thin. The one that came from here underneath the reservoir is the same as what you got all around the bike, really. The small little T30s with a small shoulder. But the one that at the front here, it connects a few things together. So you've got the front belly pan, and this is where they come together. And this is a much longer looking bolt. And it's got no shoulder on there at all. So now that's undone like that. You've got like a tongue and groove over here and over here. So we're going to, that's it slides that way. So you've got one there and one there. And you've got the corresponding connection points just there. So it slides forward. Now on this side of the bike, it's a little bit different. So to get this part off here, all you do is no screws, you just pull it off. And it literally comes off. You've got two prongs there, you've got like a little bit there, so that when you put it back together again, you put the top part in first, and then you then push the two prongs inside the other panel. So it's this side off, that comes away, and there you have it. So now we've got that off, we take off 3 screws, one there, and we've got one at the front by the radiator, exactly the same as the other side, and the other one low down, the same as the other side, which connects with the belly pan. So on this side, rather than being a long T30 like you had on the other side, we've just got a short standard T30. Same as with this one, a standard T30. Same as the other side, we have the very long one that goes through the belly pan as well. And now they are unscrewed, we then grab this plastic piece here and we're going to slide it forwards. And there we are, exactly the same as the other side. So now we're going to take the side panel off here. We take off the seat height adjuster thing, one here and one here. So both of these screws are identical. They are the same as the standard ones all over the bike. The T30, quite a short thread, quite a short shoulder on them. They're both the same. So then we just have 2 more screws to go. We've got the one here and we've got one under here. Now when you look underneath here, you'll see 2 screws, and this is where we mount the lights. It's where the OEM KTM lights go as well, but there's 2 screws under there. At this stage, we only need to take off the one at the front. So the one at the front and that one there, we'll undo now. And those 2 screws, the same as the other ones on the bike, they are the short T30s with a short shoulder. Now this should come off quite easily, so paying attention to the way how this connects just here. So as I move this forwards, you can see how it came apart quite quickly there, but that goes underneath there. You've got a slot here and a slot here, because on the inside of here you've got these tongues that go into those grooves. Okay, so just maybe when you're doing it for the first time, just have a really close look at what you're doing so you make sure you know how it all fits back together again. That comes apart like that, and this will literally just pull off, and there's the inside of the panel. Then we've got the other side as well, exactly the same as the other side. So you've got that there, one here, one there, one there, the front screw underneath here, and then off it comes. All those 4 screws that I've just taken out are identical. They're all the short-shouldered, small T30s. I have forgotten one. Remember, this side is different to the side on the bottom, because where we took the plastic flap off down here, you just pull it off with your hand, or behind there's a screw holding this piece in down here. So let me show you that close up on camera, just there. This screw is the same screw as the other 4 that we have just taken out. Now we've got them all out, once again we take it away from the top here, and we start pulling it out, and there it is. Turn that around so you can see the inside. Now, as far as we've gone now, getting most of the panels off, a lot of you will be able to install quite a few accessories on the bike as it is by threading wires through, possibly cutting the odd plug off and then refitting a plug once you've pushed something through, because the gaps are very tight to get through when you're bringing wires through here. But I want to make a full-on video showing how the fuel tank comes off and everything we have to take off to get this fuel tank off. So this is one side of the fuel tank, and obviously the other side's on the other side. And they're both joined together at the top, across the top of the airbox. But to get to it, we still need to take off this air intake here and the side panel just here, just so we can get access to the petrol tank. So I've changed my torque bit inside my drill to a T25. I'm undoing this one just here. That's one very long back black, almost like a wood screw. So once that's out, we unclip the bottom two clips just here. And there's a clip at the top just here. So you've got like a little clip just there. And you've got these two here at the bottom, which I took off from down here. And that is now the actual funnel which goes straight into the top of the airbox on the right hand side of the bike. And the other side, pretty much identical. There's your long, big black wood screw. We've got the two under here. And we've got the one on top. It's a bit tricky getting one on the top, but rather than trying to lift with your finger, you just kind of like push the plastic over and off it comes. And there we are. So now they are clear. We're going to be taking off this side panel here with the indicator and unplugging the indicator. So we've got one screw here, another screw there, another screw here. And then remember the two screws under here, we now need to take the rear screw off. So that will now come off. All four of these screws are the same as the rest on here, the most common one, which is the T30 short shoulder. We can now start pulling, oh sorry, I forgot this one here, which is actually part of the fuel tank fixing as well. So that's that screw there, which is quite unique to that position, but now you have this video as a solid reference, so you can come back and find out what screw goes there. Yeah, there's one more little screw, which is right down behind here. You can't get to that unless you take the actual air duct off. This little black one under here is a T20. There it is, just there. We can now pull this off. So as it comes off, it exposes this little plug here, which we need to obviously unplug so we can then put this on the shelf. So on this side of the bike, it's exactly the same. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've already undone those and the fifth one under here. And then again, we've got the T20 just under here. We can now pull this off and we unplug this here. Before we start getting the fuel tank off, there's a couple of things we need to just talk about first and do. Now, you'll notice I've left the belly pan on. It does not take a rocket scientist to figure out how to take the belly pan off. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then literally that will come off, and then you've got the brackets behind that as well. For this video, I can't see the point of taking it off. I don't need to take this off. I can get around this no problem at all. So we're gonna leave that on there. Before we start taking anything off up here, because the whole tank comes off, I've jacked the bike up. You don't have to, but it's just so I can show you what we're doing under here. What we have here is a split tank, sometimes known in the industry as a ball bag tank. I don't know why they call it a ball bag. I just can't get my head around that one. Anyway, what we've got under here, you've got these little silver things each side. They're basically taps. We need to turn the tap off. So we're going to turn this clockwise, just like a tap on your sink. Turn it clockwise, so that will stop any petrol that's in the tank coming out of here when we take the hose off just under here. All you need is a pair of thin nose pliers, or if you've got Corbin pliers, even better, and then squeeze that and then the hose comes off. But we're going to turn the tap off on the other side as well, just to make sure we don't get too much fuel coming out. So when we take this hose off, we will get petrol coming out of it, but it's only the petrol that's inside the hose, which is connecting the two tanks together. Turn that off, and we go around on the other side and turn that one off. Okay, so I'm coming in and just undoing this Corbin clip. So it's just a tiny bit coming out of there. Probably when I take the other side off, you get more come out of there as it releases the vacuum. The important thing is that tap is off, so no fuel can come out of here. You can just about see this little green button just here. So by pressing this green button in, this will come off. Okay, so as this comes off, you're going to get a bit of fuel out of this as well. Not a lot. And then above this, what I've just taken off, there's a plug just under here. So I'm just pushing my thumb there so I can get rid of the clip, and then out comes a super seal plug. That is now the petrol tank disconnected from the from the left-hand side of the bike. And now we got the hose to the bottom of the tank here. Remember, I've turned this one off. Undo the Corbin clip just here as well. Oh, came off a bit too quick, that one did. So, yeah, so be advised not to get petrol all over yourself. That one came off a bit too quick. And also, whilst we're down here, we're just going to take off this plug just here. And that is now completely clear of the bottom. So all we have to do now is just start undoing the bolts and screws and lifting the tank off. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I said the customer had a tank bag ring that went on top of here. So he actually fitted some aftermarket screws that went through here, which I haven't put back on, but I had to take that ring off to get the top of the tank cover off. So this is actually loose. Now, if you haven't got that cover, if you don't have to take the screws out of here, well then you just leave this in place and you take the two breather pipes off the top, and then you'd unplug. See this wire just here? You would then unplug this wire there, and so when you take the tank off, the cap goes with it. But because this is already free, I can actually take this off. There's a little gasket there as well, which you can see how it fits on. It only goes on one way. So I can literally just push this back against there, and that's enough for me because that frees it all up for me, so I can take the whole tank off. As you look at the fuel tank, take your time and have a good look all over it, and you can see which screws are supposed to come from where. This part you see here, this stays on the bike, so we're not taking this off. What we're taking off is this side here and this side down here. They are both connected by the filler section here. So this is obviously where you fill with your petrol, and that fills both tanks through here. But when we take it off, it literally comes off in one piece, and you can see all the framework that's connected to this. All this plastic framework comes round to here. When I say it's plastic, it's a very strong plastic. It all comes round to here, and you can see all the screws that need undoing. So you can see these two here are screwed to the frames. These two here, they don't come off because they actually connect the framework to the petrol tank itself, so they stay in place completely. You've then got two screws down here, which is holding on a section of plugs. So we're going to undo this section down here. I'll take them off one by one so you can see exactly what we're taking off, and then the tank will just come off. So these are two T30 bolts, and what we can do with this one is we can move this back and put the bolts back into the holes where they were, because like I say, all this will come off, but we can leave this little bridge section with the plugs on it in place on the bike. Two T30 long bolts. And just inside here, we've got this one there. And that there is a long bolt, just like you had at the front. As you can see, that's now already loose. And you've got one this side as well. And not forgetting this bolt just here. So take this one off. Same size bolt as what we took off earlier around the sides of the bike, but that's the size out the front there. Now that's like that, we should now be able to just pull this off. But as we start pulling it off, you'll notice there are some locating spots just underneath the tank. It's going to be almost impossible to show you this, but as you're lifting it and you're looking down, you can see them. And by putting your hands at the back here and pulling up, and there as well, freeing the sides here, there's like little location things down the side. You basically start pulling it up and you'll feel it lock into place. So once I've got it off, I'll show you the grooves, the slider grooves that fit onto the frame of the bike down the side. But I'm just going to get it off and put it on the ground so you can see it. Okay, so there it is there, that's the tank coming off. Can you see those white things on the inside? I think it's too heavy. The customer left it full of fuel for me. So there they are just there. So you've got one that side, and on the other side you've got one just here. And that sits down on top of this just here. So when we put the tank back over the top, they slide down over this. Okay? When we lay the tank down, I want you to pay careful consideration to the items on the bottom, because we don't want to break them. So have you noticed that the angle I've put the bike down at, I've laid it slightly on its back, so it's leaning backwards, so these aren't being crushed against the floor, because we don't want to break any plugs or anything, okay? The bike is now in the perfect condition for me to lay all the wiring harnesses down, following all the wiring, the KTM harness routes on both the right side and the left side. On the left side, you'll see we've actually got conduit, KTM conduit, that we can tuck more wires behind, because there's already wires behind there. So we can tuck more wires behind that as well. So we can really follow a very professional path when we wire up our new lights, sound bomb, Garmin, you name it, camera system, whatever you want. So we're now going to get to work on this bike, putting on some new T3 rears, T3 fronts, sound bomb, and some S4 lights on the front as well. So this customer is picking it up tomorrow. We better get cracking on. Also, to take the back off, all we have to do is take these out. Now, these are standoffs that are for the top box that came in with the bike. But if you just undo the screws that are in there, the whole back comes off. And then underneath the tail of the bike, we're going to be taking this section off just here, but you've got screws up here and up here, and you undo that, that comes off, so we can then run wires through under here. We're going to run some wires down there, which will then run under here, through there, so we can put our rear T3 lights on here, and all the wiring will be nice and neat. I almost forgot to say, see this panel here, because obviously we might want to run some wires through here, around here, and behind here. All you do with this one is you just pull it off. It's got 4 poppers on the back, you pull it off, and the same goes with the other side as well. You've got your seat release there, but you just pull this off, and then behind here you'll notice you've got the seat release mechanism behind here, and there's a plug just there. See that little red plug wiggling in there? You unplug that, so then you can take that off and put it on the side. Really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Would you actually attempt to do this? Now you've seen this video and you can see how easy it is really. It's a bit complex if you don't know what you're doing, but because I've done this screw by screw tutorial for you, would you now be tempted to take apart your KTM Super Adventure S or Super Adventure R and install your own accessories? Embrace it, guys. Start adventurizing your bikes. Meanwhile, stay safe behind bars. Not these bars, of course. We're talking about these bars. I'll see you in the next video.